Hello, I am Damonous, and thank you for joining. I want to talk about the U.S. presidential election on November 8th, 2016, which is a little over 2 weeks ago. Seemed like a pretty decisive victory at the time. Donald Trump got 290 electoral votes to Hillary Clinton's 232 electoral votes. As we can see from this map from the New York Times, that the vast majority, really, of the U.S. landmass voted for Donald Trump. Now, there was the actual vote count tally, which Hillary had higher, but I think the Electoral College really proves its value and its validity in this case. Because when we look at the whole landmass, really everyone voted for Trump. Now, there's major metropolitan areas, LA, Chicago, New York, Washington, D.C., very liberally minded areas, and they voted for Hillary. So, yes, the vote count goes up, but when we look at the mass of the U.S. body, really everyone voted for Trump. And, there was sites we saw, people all upset. Hey, I'm for passionate people, but when it's someone as crooked as Hillary, a little disturbed by that maybe. Maybe even more so by all the riots we've seen, right? So, just up to a couple days ago, riots were still continuing in various cities across the U.S. So there's been this whole culture of something unfair happen, something against Hillary. So I really wanted to answer that question as, hey, did Hillary get a fair shot? And what I wanted to illustrate, at least in this video, we might look at some other things too that happened retrospective to the election in some other videos. But in this one, I wanted to talk about the other candidates. Were they really independent, or did they have A, ties to Hillary, or B, platforms that were essentially the same as Hillary, such that you would be most likely to vote for Hillary if you wanted any of the things that these independents had, since the independents had no chance of winning. But let's look at first Gary Johnson. Gary Johnson, Libertarian Party. Gary Johnson, Bill Weld. On this ticket, they had probably the best chance, and due to the division between Hillary and Trump, even the supporters of which, I'd say there's more on Hillary's side that were kind of just voting against Trump. But in either case, there was a lot of division, a lot of things that people didn't like about either candidate, but supported them kind of begrudgingly, let's put it that way. So the Libertarians had a really good shot at this one. But yet, Gary Johnson didn't act like he was serious about this. In this video, he's being interviewed, and he's trying to say that, hey, if he just got a chance to be in the debates, it really wouldn't matter what they do, him and his running mate.
Examination of me and Bill Weld as who we are and what we've done, and based on that, I think I could stand up there for the whole debate and not say anything, and really says, well,
okay, so the number one thing to do when you're a serious presidential candidate, and you're an independent, you're not in the major Democratic or Republican parties. When you're an independent candidate, a lot of people kind of say, hey, you're out there, you really don't have a shot, you're a spoiler party. Number one thing you want to do is look like you're crazy, apparently. Let's look at his policies, too. In this video here, he's essentially, I'm not going to actually play all this one, but he essentially gets very upset because the interviewer, I'll give links underneath the description, underneath the video, so that you can look at all these sites and for yourself and view these videos if you want. But in this one, the interviewer is basically just asking very clear-cut questions, saying, hey, illegal immigrants, and Gary Johnson goes off the deep end and says, call them undocumented. It's very insulting to call them illegal immigrants, call them undocumented. And the interviewer is just trying to say, hey, that's what they are. They're illegal immigrants. They are not legal immigrants, so they're illegal immigrants. So that's odd. When it comes to his running mate, Bill Weld actually, in the month of October, went on various TV shows and defended Hillary. Here, I think she deserves to have people vouch for her other than members of the Democratic National Committee, so I'm here to do that. Kind of weird for someone trying to be a lightning rod in the independent candidates, right? Maybe not so odd, though, if we look at his background. So, this from the National Review. A lot of people don't know this, but Hillary is actually part of the team working on the Richard Nixon impeachment inquiry back in the 70s. And so was Bill Weld. He says, if I was the first staffer, Hillary Rodham from Yale Law School was the second staffer. She's just a very decent person. And then he recalls how she defended him, and I will never forget her for that. So, doesn't look very independent now, right? It seems like there's some unhealthy ties to Hillary here. And certainly from a policy perspective, at least on the immigration, not much different from Hillary. I'm going to jump over to the surprise independent Republican-esque candidate, Evan McMullin, that kind of came out of nowhere in the last couple months of the election. I think he started in August or September. He's on maybe 7 states, with Colorado being his best shot, where he didn't do much. The interesting thing about him, on the Daily Wire, they talk about 9 things you should know about him. Number 5 is particularly important, I think. He's unmarried, received an MBA at Wharton in 2011, and later worked at Goldman Sachs before moving to Capitol Hill. Well, Goldman Sachs is the company that paid Hillary $675,000 just to have a speech for them. Now, I'm not saying there's exact collusion. This proves it. It's odd, but let's just put it this way. It seems like 2 people playing for the same values, playing for the same special interests, at least. So that's another one that's a little dubious in my mind as a valid independent party. So then we come down to Jill Stein. Jill Stein, on the 3rd presidential debate, worked with the RT.com, basically republished her Facebook page live, and she was answering questions that came up in the debate as if she were in the debate. And, on here, I certainly support continuing Roe versus Wade and supporting a woman's right to determine her reproductive future. On immigration, I'll just summarize this here, you can read it yourself, but she's basically saying Trump was right that Obama has been deporting people who are illegal immigrants, and even that's too much, essentially, is what she's saying. And then my favorite is this, where we very urgently need common sense gun control. Nearly 100 people die every day. Americans agree that we should have background checks, that we should close the gun show loophole, which I'm pretty certain I heard Hillary say almost verbatim more than once during the campaign. But even more interesting than policies being the same is this just came out. This is very fresh news, that Jill Stein and the Green Party are making a push here, and they only have a couple days to actually execute this due to state regulations and limitations for recounts. But they're actually doing a push for recounts in major states where that gave Trump the election victory, the Electoral College vote victory, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. So they're trying to raise $2 million to get to this vote recount, where they have to spend, some of these states, I think, require like $1 million to do a vote recount. But, then they're claiming, we have a voting system prone to mistakes, errors. Well, we're calling for a paper recount. And the Green Party has actually taken a lead role in safeguarding our election system for many years. I don't remember hearing this. I'm probably going to do some research, because that's an interesting claim, because I don't remember hearing of the Green Party doing these benevolent things. But let's just say they're for real. I mean, what do they have to gain from this? Because how good did she do, right? How many votes did Jill Stein get in the presidential election? And this article here is very interesting, from heavy.com. And it says, Stein got 1,207,000 votes, right? Which is 1% of the popular vote. So she did like 3 times better than the last time she ran, right? But 1% of the vote. So you tell me, what is she hoping to gain? What is the Green Party hoping to gain by doing a recount? What, that they got 1.05% of the vote? I think all this would do is either A, help Hillary with a potential vote turn, since Hillary already said she's not going to call for a vote recount, or just create more division. So that's my case here, is really I'm just saying that the vote was stacked in Hillary's favor. The deck was stacked in her favor, and I don't think it's fair to say, oh, something wrong, something wicked went on here, and she didn't get a fair shot. She got more than a fair shot because anyone else running was really supportive of her campaign in one way or another, either indirectly or directly through associations. So stick with me, subscribe. If you like what I'm doing, help me out on patreon.com, and we'll have some more videos that talk about retroactively how fair was Hillary's shot at this election, and some other great videos. Thanks again for watching.